Hi, I'm Jessica Anthony, and this week's video I'm going to be talking about circular economy. It's something I've wanted to know more about because it's along the lines of regenerative living, regenerative agriculture, permaculture principles, all of which I'm really interested in. I want to know, what is a circular economy business? The circular economy is based on 3 principles, and it's driven by design. So not only are you designing your product from getting the resources needed to go into the product to the life of the product, how can we make that not just extractive and then it goes in a landfill, basically. So the circular economy is where materials never become waste. Whatever the materials in a product are, they can be reused or used indefinitely, or pretty much indefinitely, or returned back to nature in a way that enhances nature, regenerative for nature, and not ending up as pollution in nature. So there's 3 main principles here: eliminating waste and pollution. Sounds good. Then circulate products at their highest value, and if not the whole product, the materials in that product. The last one, regenerate nature. Sounds great. Let's do them all. So these are the kind of basic principles, guiding principles of setting up a circular economy. Next, I'll break down 24 ways, at least 20 ways that you could implement it in your life directly, which is great because I'm done waiting around for someone else to, implement these things into life. So if I can do it in my small ways, let's do it. Okay. I've kind of broken these down into like bigger categories. I've got different items within each bigger category. The first one I think is really important and key to the whole thing. Mindset. We love a good mindset. So I said good, but it's not like a value judgment on like good and evil. It is a regenerative mindset. It is a circular mindset. There are those 3 principles for the mindset. You want to develop this circular lifestyle mindset, and that way you can find out, things in your life that I won't think about, things that you can do to implement this, because the mindset will just iterate on itself and you'll come up with your own ideas. So for the first mindset pillar of 3 is refuse or reduce consumption. Don't buy as much. That's your biggest way to have a circular lifestyle. Refuse or reduce consumption. Okay, that's your first mindset. Can I just say no to this? Do I need this? Do I have enough without this? Second is repairing and reusing products. We live in a very, throw out disposable culture, which is not healthy, not holistic. We all know. I feel like it's like, we know. So having that mindset of how can I repair and reuse what I already have, repurpose it for a new need, and not just toss it out. Third principle is recycling waste, but doing that in a manner that when that item is beyond repair and reuse. So when it is just done so, recycle that waste. That keeps the highest value of the products that are in there, or the, raw materials or whatnot. It's a lot to think about. But it's a mindset. So you do a little bit at a time. And also, a lot of people, and I've thought this way too, like, we know the big corporations are causing like the vast majority of the pollution and the things that are, really propelling climate change. So it feels like we're so small, but because we're valued so much as consumers, it's also then taking our consumer power, doing that little bit. Like, we don't have to be the superhero to save the day. We can be a drop in the ocean, but together the ocean makes waves. So, I'm doing it. It's going to the other arm. Oh. It's almost like I'm making dad jokes and embarrassing jokes at myself. Like I'm embarrassing myself. Okay. That's a thing that brings me joy. And it doesn't cost anything to be a total dork. So the first category after mindset is food. There's a lot of ways that we can implement this circular economy in our food. First, and a major way, is reducing food waste. We all know food prices are just sky high, so it's as important as ever. So much emissions every year is from food waste. So doing what you can to buy what you need, or have long-term storage solutions for surplus stuff that you're not using. Next food item is to cook creatively. Like look in your kitchen at your odd ingredients that you have before that grocery shop. Use what you've got to make something new, so that again you're reducing food waste. It's a way to help reduce that food waste. Another thing, again, these like have multiple benefits, so it's not just participating in this circular economy, but it's also good for you. Putting healthy, satiating, so satisfying, it's going to fill you up and nourish you foods first. That's what you prioritize in your shopping and your cooking, so that you're cooking the thing that's really gonna eat circular. So how do you do that? I mean, check out if you've got any local farms. Support local small farmers. Support regenerative farmers. So farmers using regenerative practices. Regenerative farming builds soil health. Regenerative farming builds soil health. It builds the microbiome and it restores the nutrients and all of what makes life on Earth like tick and go is that rich topsoil layer, and regenerative farming helps to rebuild that. So if you can support local farmers, be part of the circular economy with your food, do it. Lastly, in the food category, embracing a plant-based diet. Moving towards that, you are reducing, your overall emissions. You are helping to combat a lot of issues. Again, if all ranching was done in a regenerative manner, this might be a different story. But with the current status quo of farming and factory farming of animals, you can greatly reduce your, environmental impact of eating through moving towards plant-based. Next up is transportation category for how to be moving in a circular economy. Our first one under transportation is move circular. What does that mean? Especially if you're in a city, and that's where the populations are most dense, but public transportation, car sharing, or other ride sharing, walking, bicycling, using those modes of transportation as much as possible, an additional trip a week, that will help support circular economy. You are wasting less as far as your personal footprint. Another big thing is keeping your car for longer, because if you're getting rid of a car, how is it being recycled? What are all the parts going? Is it just going into a landfill? Keeping it that extra time, plus if you've got it paid off, it's going to pay dividends for your finances of not having a car payment. Keep it as long as you can, and then I should take this advice, I need an oil change, but get your regular tune-up so that it stays in good shape for longer. And our third one for vehicles is choosing a lightweight design, because it uses less gas. Generally speaking, gets better gas mileage, and then you have also less of the raw materials going into it, less that is then being at the end of its life cycle being wasted. Now, this is not something you can do at the drop of a hat. If you are purchasing another car because it's that time, take those things into consideration with big purchases like that, because those have a huge impact, and having a lighter weight vehicle with better gas mileage will reduce the overall cost of the car as well. So again, a lot of these things in a circular economy are actually saving you money as well. The fourth one is shelter, is the category I put it in. It's use your home that's existing longer before you like knock it down and rebuild again all the materials that go into building it. You don't want to just toss them out and waste them. Now that the reason I just have one here is like that's a place of privilege to just be like, oh, I'm redoing my whole house, or knocking it down and starting again. So those are huge impact things, but they're not things that we're doing every day. I mean, within housing, it's also a smaller footprint of the house, like smaller square footage. What is enough of a house for you, your family, or household members, because you're heating or cooling all of that, and that's a footprint taken away from the natural habitat outside. The next category I've just listed as stuff that you buy. And there's a bunch of things under this list because it's really where those 3 principles are coming into play a lot. Starting with borrow instead of buying. There's like tool libraries that you can like rent tools from, or not even rent. If it's like a library, it's free and you just check it out and bring it back. Get that cup of sugar from your neighbor. Build community that way, Next up on stuff is refusing single use. Things that are just going to become waste. Bring that to-go cup, okay? You can implement that in like many ways in your life. You just start to observe where you're throwing things away, where you are using single use, and be like, is there a reusable swap for that? Because that's materials being created, used, then just put back into a landfill. It's not circular, it's very linear of extraction and in a dump somewhere. Reuse and repurpose is the next. So again, this can be anything you think of, a jar, whatever it is. Reusing and repurposing things that you have for other uses helps to extend the life cycle of that item. Repair what you do have. Don't just throw it away when it's broken. Moving away from planned obsolescence. So unfortunately, a lot of things are kind of made to be a little disposable, or made to sputter out at some point in not too distant future, so you have to buy a new one when you can, if you can, as you can. Again, a place of privilege, but buying quality items when you do have to buy something so that you are able to fix it when the time comes, so it increases the time that you can use it. If you do have to buy circular. Look at secondhand marketplaces on the internet, Depop and Marketplace, ThreadUp, eBay, things like that. So buying secondhand, basically, or going to that thrift store and buying secondhand. So those are circular because they are recirculating what already exists and not extracting new resources for the things that you might need. Next up is just making careful consumer choices. So being really aware of what you're buying. Sometimes I'll think of it like, okay, I need this thing. What is the core problem of what I'm trying to solve with getting this thing? Can I reach it in another way, or do I really need this doodad thingamajig to like solve this issue? So recycling and building those secondary markets, so participate in them so that you're strengthening those secondary markets and strengthening the circular economy where you are. And then just sharing when you can. If you got a fruit tree in your yard, offer some to the neighbors, share knowledge, share what you can. We're in it together. Aren't we all? We're all on this planet for now. We're not on our way to Mars. So my final category is with everything. Do this with all things. So the first is consider chemicals, because they persist in our environments, especially forever chemicals, what it takes to create those chemicals, the impact it has when you use them in your home, like on air quality, you're breathing them in, getting them on your skin. They can do a lot of gnarly things, and then when you're done with them, or if you are throwing out or disposing of a not completely finished bottle of something, where is that going? A bad chemical, it could ruin your septic system, or if it's in your sewer system, it's going like straight out to the ocean and going in there. So be mindful of what you're bringing in, because you're then creating demand for that, and it's persisting in our environment. And it's not just like cleaning chemicals, it's chemicals like fire retardants in couches and sofas and all that stuff. So reducing the new amounts of that in the environment. Another all things item is supporting local. So support your local businesses, your small businesses. Also there, you might have a bigger impact than you think. If circular regenerative practices are important to you and you're talking to a small business owner, you have like a lot more possibility to change how they do business by bringing people's awareness to these issues. And then the last one under all things is dispose correctly. I actually once called like a big waste disposal place in Los Angeles, asked about the different types of things you're supposed to, put your electronic waste there, your batteries, your paint thinners, paints, whatever things you got. You're not supposed to just throw them in the trash. Each of these things should be disposed of correctly. Figuring out what those, items are and doing that because, they're able to take things apart and get the raw materials and recycle them better or dispose of them in a safe way so that it has minimal impact to the environment. So if you get to the point after reusing, repurposing, and it is time to let go of something, let go of it properly. And some bonus ones, I also feel like these are points of privilege if you have the money to be doing these things, but renewable technologies for your home, whether that's solar, wind, whatever it is. If you are a landlord, having no empty homes. We have a housing crisis, and when those houses are just sitting there empty, not only are people not housed, but the footprint that makes in just a big waste of energy because people need to be housed somewhere, so they're building new houses if we have existing ones already. So if you're in that position, no empty houses. If you do have the opportunity to, say, design a home, because you are building from scratch, design a flexible, multi-purpose home so that it can be used in a variety of ways, meet, a variety of needs. Incorporate some of these regenerative designs in that so that you're there from the get-go in your space that you're creating. Again, those are, if you're in the position to be doing those things. That's the list of 23 plus ideas for participating in a circular economy before that's the status quo of our economy. Right now we have a very extractive linear economy, so we take materials out, we sell them to people use them, they throw them out, and it goes into a landfill and pollutes the planet. Wah wah. Debbie Downer. But a circular economy is, again, getting the resources to make something through the entire life cycle. It's circular. You are reducing consumption, using things for longer, repurposing, reusing, sharing, keeping them, whatever you have, in use for longer, and then disposing of things correctly and hopefully in a way where it is regenerative to the earth. Tell me what you are thinking, ways you can implement it. This was a long list. Now, I don't know. There's many more things like how one would get this going and like have rewards or benefits in the economic system that make this the status quo. Like right now, economic prosperity is based on GDP and like the stock market going up and not on the quality of people's daily lives. But how do you get an economic system to shift in that way? But if we shift our mindsets first and then the ways to like center our needs and not like a consumption hamster wheel, then we can at least implement this in our lives and our sphere of influence. But I am curious on a larger scale how this would be like put into place, and if we're not going up like the stock market, what does a holistic, prosperous economy look like? And that's where I don't know. I'm like, is this outside of capitalism? Are people that are kind of promoting circular economy trying to put this on top of our current system? I don't know if it'll work, because I don't know if there's incentive for this to work for big companies, because they just want more profit. So I am curious about all those things, but I think it's like anything that's regenerative, making sure the earth is a livable planet for the next 12 generations, I'm down for that. Have a good week. I'm interested to know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. Like, subscribe, and all the rest. Take care.